Welcome everybody to our new show, Paul's Projects, where we actually do up one of my personal cars. I've got over 40 of them now, they're all nails, and we're actually going to sell it in this video. So my sister does me accounts and she's always on to me. What does she say, Keith?
Paul, will you sell one of these cars?
But a lot more swearing's usually involved. So without further ado, let's get on with the first project. And here's the first project we got to do. It's the last one I bought, so unfortunately it's the first one that's got to go out the door. It's a 1992 Vauxhall Nova, but it's got a VXR turbo engine with a 6-speed box and a limited slip diff. The engine produces over 300 horsepower, so this thing doesn't hang about. So as we all know, Keith's the body side, I'm the mechanical side. What are we doing on this car, Keith?
First of all, it's to sort all the panel gaps out because they're all not good. So the paint's cracking on the roof, so I think we'll bare metal it and do the job properly, just in case there's any filler hiding underneath. So we're also going to paint it in the newer VXR Arctic White.
So me on the mechanical side, my job is going to be to strip the car and get that engine out. Now looking at it, the fuel pipes where they come up the bulkhead, they're permanently rubbing on the steering rack, which is no good. Also where the gearbox mount's been welded to the chassis leg, the welding is terrible. And then if you shine a torch from underneath, you can actually see the chassis leg has got a crack in it. Going into the interior, we're going to sort that out because most of the trims are falling off, and when the engine's running, everything just rattles about. The roll cage where it bolts through the floor, there's no strengthening plates to the other side, so it's just washers holding it in there, so that's unsafe. And let's not talk about that steering wheel, shall we? It's definitely a fake OMP steering wheel, made of the finest Chinesium, I expect. So there's only one thing left to do. Let's start ripping our Nova apart.
Can't wait.
Let's go. So if we're going to paint this car, we're going to do a proper job. I absolutely hate when you see masking lines on a paint job. So we're going to take everything apart. So the bonnet and the bumper, the doors, the glass and the boot, it's all coming off. And that's where we come across our first little problem. And that problem is rust. I think pretty much every Nova came out the factory new with rust built into it. I don't know a Nova that doesn't rust really, so it was to be expected. So here, I'll get my old hand up in there, we've got a massive hole and it goes into the rear arch. Same down the front of the sill, and unfortunately, same here, where the rear bumper bolts on, it's got a hole in it. The other side is identical, so we're going to need two sills and do that repair on the back. The only problem we've got is here, the fuel filler, the neck goes down here, just behind this, to the tank. So we've got to take the tank out and the filler neck. It's kind of getting to that point now where we might as well just strip the whole thing to a bare shell, paint underneath, paint all the suspension and just do it properly. Got 4 weeks to do it in, so let's crack on. So because we're proper up against it now with time, I've got my mate Simon in to give us a helping hand. So first of all, we rip that engine out and then strip the rest of it down to a bare shell. It's then time to put it on our spit so we can spin it over easier to weld them sills. We then get it down to the body shop outside and give it a good clean. Both drive shaft boots were split on this, so there's grease all over the engine bay and underneath the car. So that's all got to come off before we start rubbing it down. So then it's into the body shop to get started on that welding. While Simon's repairing the chassis leg, Keith is going to be rubbing it down to bare metal to get rid of that old horrible paint. So Simon repairs that chassis leg and a couple of seams in the engine bay and then gets stuck into welding them sills. Now all the floor's bent round, so he's got to straighten all that out, cut the sill off and put the new piece on. Simon's done the welding and now it's Keith's turn to get cracking. So he blows all the dust off and then gets it into the paint booth. So we're putting a high build primer in the engine bay and all over the outside of the body, so the roof and the rear quarters. And then we're stone guarding the underside of the car, all in the arches and the lower section of the engine bay. And then it's time for a nice coat of this Vauxhall VXR white. It's an Arctic white, it's a really nice bright white. So we do the engine bay, underneath and all in the arches, so it's ready to get back up to the top workshop. And that's it, the body's back up here. Keith, as normal, has done an amazing job. The engine bay is painted in the arches and underneath. Now, to paint the outside, you saw when he was priming it, he was stood on a step ladder. He ain't gonna get a great finish stood on a step ladder painting the roof, so it needs to come off this trestle. The only way we can do that is by putting all the suspension on and getting it rolling. So that's the next thing to do. So me and Simon are gonna clean up all the parts, give them a lick of paint, and also before that engine goes back in, we're gonna put a Cambout water pump on it because it's so tight in there, it'd just be a nightmare to do it in situ. So without further ado, let's get cracking on the rebuild montage. And that's Keithy's hard work out the way. He's done a mint job at this. Just look how white that is. The new VXR white is blinding. So we've got a couple of more bits left to do before it's finished. All we got to do is fit the engine parts back on, like the intercooler, and then rework the hard pipe kit so it don't rub on the bonnet. And then we put all the glass back in super carefully because this stuff's proper hard to find now. Then it's getting all the doors on, get them lined up nice so they shut perfectly, fit the wings, fit the bonnet, and then keep sorting out all them gaps. Last thing of all is to get the brakes on, get the wheels on, and then the car's all done. Do you want to see it? Let's have a look. Have a look at that. It's no longer 50 different shades of white. It's one perfect, super bright Arctic white Nova. So starting at the front, the bumper. Where the intercooler was put on, the big hole was cut and it looked awful. So Keith's cut that hole bigger, shaped the sides so it looks more factory, and there's a bit of mesh just to give it that little bit of protection. All the gaps have been sorted on the front, so it actually looks like a very well built car, which it is. Going round to the side, those old brakes were off a Renault Clio and they were actually too big for this car. So the front wheels had to have a wider offset to clear the brakes, and it made the front wheels stick out much wider in the back. Now it doesn't. It looks good as well as stops perfect as well. All the seal trims, the mirrors, the window mouldings and the back end is all colour matched, so it's the same black. And then moving on to the inside, we got rid of that old interior and got a set of Recaros out of a Corsa Nürburg edition. Took 2 days to fit them, but done it look good. Austin matched the door cards to the seats, so we got black leather with the white stitch. The inside now is a real nice place to be. Oh, and we got rid of that Chinesium steering wheel and put a proper one in there, so it's nice and strong. And then going into the engine bay, we sorted all the pipe work out, hid most of the wiring and rerouted a lot of it to make it look a more factory fitted engine. Also colour coded the cam cover to match the outside, so it looks like it's not just a big engine just chucked in there, it's the engine for this car. And there we go, a month's work for the 3 of us. Yeah, 3 of us now. Simon's going to work here permanently. What's your thoughts on it? Leave them in the comments, and also subscribe and you'll be able to see this thing go down the road. Oh, another thing also, I've sold the car. It's my first ever car I've done up and sold. If you go on Facebook and search for Dream Car Giveaway, they go on there and raffle off cars and give them away. So they're gonna, because it's obviously been done really well, they're gonna go to a couple of shows with it first, show everybody the condition of it and how good it's been done. Thank you very much. And then, yeah, you'll see it on there for raffling. I can't have a go, sadly, but if you do win it, email me and I'll buy it back off you. There we go, can't say fairer than that. But yeah, subscribe if you want to see this thing go down the road. Sounds amazing. So I can't wait tomorrow to give it a burn. So yeah, that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed this quick compressed build, and I'll see you on the next one.